Hey everybody, it's Chris Parente hanging out at my home as I've been doing the last several nights trying to get the conversation going. And I don't know, it feels like Christmas morning because this woman who's looking here, there, and everywhere happens to be one of my all-time favorites. Diane, where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere.
Diane! Now listen, while she's going to close the door, I want to tell you, Diane, one of my, I guess I'm going to call her one of my role models, one of my friends. She's a ball of energy, a ball of commitment, a ball of standing for a transformed world. She's been working up there in Fort Wayne, Indiana for many years. In fact, Diane, you were a Fort Wayne police officer for
Yes.
27 years.
Yes.
27 years. You were a police officer, both a woman and a woman of color in the police department. So I want to start out by asking you anything you want to say, a perspective you might have on the police force and what's right and what's wrong about the city police departments. You could talk about Fort Wayne or in a bigger sense. What do you think, Diane?
First of all, one of the things, the reason why I got in law enforcement is that I wanted to be able to provide a better quality of life for my children, my two daughters. In that process, I also became a foster parent. I did a lot of different things, but my main goal was to help be an assistant to the miscommunication and the misservice quality of service that was given to the community through law enforcement, through social services, or whatever that service was. My commitment as an artist was to give back to the community. And I actually applied from 85 up until 89. It took 3 attempts for me to actually gain the qualifications by their guidelines to be recruited. And at that time, they were really recruiting minorities in 1989. So I came out of a class of 27 officers, and there were actually, in this class, there were 2 Afro-American females, and we had maybe 6 Afro-American males. So it was a very large class of minorities that came through in 1989. Mm-hmm. And going into that transition, it was something that was very needed because we were doing community policing then. Our chief of police, our prior chief had moved away, but we had a chief that came in and he wanted to do community policing. That was just right up my alley. That you know, with me being an artist, giving back to the community, being the oldest of a very large family, I knew that I was all excited about everything. But as I began to go through the guidelines and restrictions of whatever that needed to be done, I ran into an obstacle of just writing a report. And they said, Ms. Rogers, you know, we're gonna have to, we might have to let you go if you can't write a report. And so I'm like, what do you mean write a report? Well, you have to remember, I'm coming from a background of constantly moving within a small geographical area with my personal family. So I moved a lot. There was a lot of things I struggled with in high school. So I'm like, what do you want? He said, we need to when, where, what, why, and how. I said, okay, I can do that. So I actually, in the process of understanding the when, where, who, and how, it also gave me the insight to look in all different directions with what I had to do to improve myself to be a quality officer for the community.
You know what, Diane? I wanted to say this. First of all, you're exactly the kind of person I would want as a police officer, because people don't know this. Your whole life has been committed to community and to reaching out and to lifting up. That's your whole life. And you talk about community policing. That's up your alley too, getting out there in the neighborhoods and knowing the people you're serving. But I want to know, did you experience racism as a female Black officer from within the department? Did it make your job harder from within the department?
As we got rid of the community policing profile or concept, or that was our service, it became, I think like 10 years in it began to get very, very complicated because community policing was no longer the trend that they wanted. Well, in 1994, I built my home in a high for call service area, which is a high crime area. I built my home where they were wanting officers to move in these communities to help build rapport. Even though we were going out of the community policing, I took advantage of this opportunity, coming from public assistance, living off of $288 a month, being paid to go to the academy, then coming out of the academy, building a house in the community that I was raised in, working in my community, and still living in my community. When I say all of that, that means that now the house is paid for. And in that whole process, I became the Officer of the Year in 1996 for the whole southeast side of Fort Wayne for community service and giving back and the quality of building relationships. Mm-hmm. And after that, in the year 2000, I was a nominated Officer of the Year for community service for the state representative, to represent the state of Indiana for a community service. And it was an officer that in Indianapolis that actually won that because of the pen pal, the PAL Club. So I was a more grassroots. I've always been grassroots. The racism was constantly. Even though I was on the department with several other family members, this department actually recruited 8 family members within my family. So 5 of us.
What did that look like, Di? Because a lot of folks today is, you watch the news, you see what's happening, and even there in Fort Wayne, there are people who believe that, there's institutional racism wired in to our police departments. What did it look like for you?
What people don't realize is that police patrol come from slave patrol, period. When the slaves were free, or when they were being gathered and riled up, the same excessive force, being in the wrong place. This is where we are today. Nothing has changed. There's just more equipment, more cameras. Nothing has really changed. You have to be quiet. That is not it. I'm gonna tell you how racism affected me and my family. We have a take-home car policy. There was an investigation down the street, a possible drug deal, because remember, I live in a high for call service area. This potential suspect, supposed to have been a drug deal, walked maybe 4 houses north toward my house. My nephew actually goes to the front door to see what's going on with my squad car, take-home car policy, sitting in front of my house. He went to go peek. He feels he's safe because he's at Officer Rogers' house. He's at his aunt's house. He's at home. And so they come down in a period in time and they actually come in my house, pull guns on my daughter in the bed because my nephew didn't shut the door all the way when they said, "Hey, you," because they said the suspect was walking this way. My nephew was probably 100 pounds, maybe 6'1", just a string, but you could tell he was a child. My whole thing was how they came in my home when we have a consent to search form that needs to be signed by the homeowner. They came in with guns on my kids, handcuffed my nephew. Nobody wanted to apologize. They lied. I went from acknowledging, putting the concern of complaint against the police, a couple other commanding officers, 6 other officers. At that point, there was no more trust.
Wait a minute, hold on, Diane. So there was a call for a possible drug deal down the street. Your nephew went to the front door to take a look. You're telling me Fort Wayne police officers,
with my squad car in front of my house,
knowing that this is your home, your squad car is in the front, you're well known in Fort Wayne. You're kind of a legend in Fort Wayne. They knew that was your house. They entered your home, handcuffed your nephew, had guns drawn, and were you there?
I was actually at the church teaching my art, teaching drumming and dance. They had a commanding officer come to the door. I lost it, but the whole thing was how no one could come to me and nobody That's why I found an attorney. And then I knew as a minority female that I was going to be harassed and I had to stand up. So I did. And from then on, I was tagged, marked for every little inkling, any little thing, even if I was something that they written me up for, broadcasted in the newspaper, it wasn't true, never got an apology. They told me, Diane, you should just move out of your community. You know, all this stuff going on, you should just move. Well, mind you, they don't pay us enough money as officers to just move.
Right.
Children to raise. I didn't want to work and do the patrol the community and then go get another part-time job to take care of my children. I didn't want to do that. So when this happened and everything went down, the Attorney General of the state of Indiana was pro-police, but they violated the amendment, violated my children. I have never gotten an apology.
Do you think is it still we see the protests around the country, and there's a lot of confusion about, who's doing what, and are the officers showing restraint? Do you think, Diane, we have a problem the same way Fort Wayne does in police departments across America where there is racism?
Hell yes. Hell yes. You think it's a damn problem? All this shit they doing, that is not the training. They're not trained to do that shit. Now you gotta mind you that some of these recruits that they recruit, they were bullied, they were picked on, now they become an officer, now they're the big bag, now they're the biggest bully there ever is.
Right. Right.
Now, you gotta remember, police patrol is slave patrol, especially for Afro-American. And Afro-American in the United States, that's what it is. It's slave patrol. We're still 400 years. We're still fighting the same thing, lies, confusion from religion to education to history. They don't even teach history in the classrooms anymore. Now, when I left in 2016, when I left and retired, there were several other officers on the street. Well, mind you, I was a target because I was a legend. I was a legend for bringing peace. I was a legend because I knocked on all the doors in my neighborhood before I built my house to ask how did they feel about an officer moving in their community. I was a legend because I was able to sit down with some of the gangbangers and talk to them, this and that and whatever. Whatever it was, you have to have someone that looks like someone that helps tear down walls all the time. But you got to understand, everyone that looks like me doesn't mean that they're actually for the cause.
What do you think there's no easy answer, but do you think community policing or having officers like do what you did, build your home in the neighborhood you serve, is that one way we can get past this, or do we need new leadership? What can we do, Diane?
And we need police reform. We need law reform. We need hospital reform. We need medical reform. We need a whole lot of reform. But the police is one of the agencies that nobody, I guess they can say the state will come and investigate or the FBI. The FBI is corrupt. The CIA is corrupt. The White House is corrupt. The financial institutions is corrupt. The educational college mafia is corrupt. So why in the world, all of this corruption, how in the hell can you just constantly profile somebody of color that you have geographically placed in every southeast side of every city by design? Everything is by design. Nothing is coincident. Everything is by design.
Well, go ahead.
When you say what needs to be done, how many times, Chris, have you had a situation reference in your job as an anchorman, going out into the community and talking to different people in the community and building a rapport with them, and they take the work that you've done and turn it all around? Miss the whole point. For political purposes, politician purposes, or they only want that part of the story and not get the whole story. And that's what Afro Americans are dealing with today. The whole story has been buried. I actually got a chance to visit Ghana in 2014. And I just began to speak about my journey during that trip, because what I saw as an officer was devastating. Just devastating. To see that their police officers, they don't have cars. They walk solo by themselves with a rifle or something on their back. We have cars, we have rapport, and anytime you bring something to the forefront, to the commanding officers, or even trying to negotiate with the ministers in the community or the Black leadership, everything gets twisted around because nobody wants to deal with the truth.
Well,
the police departments don't want to deal with the truth.
yeah.
Nobody wants to deal with the truth.
All right, and I want to say one thing. All this to me sounds pretty. It's got to be, as a Black woman, it's got to be maddening. I cannot imagine. But I also know you. You're not the you're one of the most positive, optimistic, hopeful, loving. I love being in your energy. So you still somehow keep on keeping on. So what I want to know is, what would you? Well, several things. Let's go through this. Number one.
Okay, Chris. One thing I want to tell you. April 29th of 2016, I went to marry my daughter in St. George, Utah, in the mountains. And my son says, "Mom, I can't wait till you retire. They're holding you back." I get back home May 1st. I got a letter in my mailbox where every 6 months or to a year, a new recruit sergeant came into the southeast side of my quadrant. And every sergeant actually had to flex their, I don't know what I don't know if you want to call them muscles, their brain or their genitals. I don't know what it was, but they had to find a way to write me up for something that was foolish. My last write-up was that I was an endangerment to the community and the officers that I work with and back up, and half of the officers that work the southeast side didn't even live in Fort Wayne. So what else do you want me to say?
Right.
When you want to see differences, they wanted to micromanage me. Because I had built a relationship with the community. I didn't have to chase people down 10 or 15 blocks. And I've been in this car chases and I tore up some cars, but I had people just say, "Diane, I'm going to stop. I'm afraid." I said, "Well, you need to stop and I need to apprehend you, because there was no sense for me to chase you down or run you down. And then when I catch you, I got to beat you up." I had dancing and drumming to do. So I wasn't getting ready to beat you and kick you and bruise myself because I caught you.
Right. When you see these officers, Diane, I noticed the Lincoln Memorial tonight. The president's got the national military out there, and you've heard it talk about that. What do you say to the idea that you've seen these protests around the country, that the answer is law and order, crack down? What do you think? How do we diffuse what's happening right now in America?
Well, I find it very funny that the coronavirus lost a race to racism. For real? Now we got, everything is a test. If you understand war, everything is a test. This is another test. Something else is going to happen too. Because we as Afro-Americans, we look at things in a different way. We actually have to pay attention to history that has been not provided to us. We have to dig for it and research it. But the same symbol where Hitler held up the Bible is the same symbol that Trump held up the Bible in reference to war. See, everybody is not stupid. Everybody is not stupid. So all of this whole country was built off of symbols and secret side societies. And so we can't be a secret society because we're all placed in one place, and nobody, only a few engineers gonna go here, maybe a few doctors, which I find very, this is crazy when the Afro-American invented the refrigerator, the stove, and the motor, and the car, and the lawnmower, and the toothbrush, and the traffic light, and the White House, and on and on and on, and we have no financial, no generational wealth at all.
Mm.
So being Black in America, dealing with slave patrol and a justice system that for justice for everybody but us, what in the hell are we supposed to do?
Mm. Mm.
So nobody wants to have a conversation. What in the hell are we supposed to do? So we go downtown and protest peacefully, and that's all we done. We said, we shall overcome, or we're doing a candle lighting, or we're praying, or we're walking silent. Nothing is going to change. I hate to say it, but nothing is going to change until some retaliation comes. The blood's got to be shed. You can't continue to keep torturing Black people for foolish things. And for the if some of these same people were a different color, that would have not happened to them.
Well,
so the conversation is racism. You can't do anything until you have the conversation, until you deal with the truth of how all of this came about. Now, there's some that speak about the truth of how things came about, but that doesn't mean that even the law is still written that it covers everybody but Afro-Americans. Right now today, the Constitution still reads the way it does. They say justice is for all, but no, it's not. So I stayed on the street to serve my community for 27 years, the only female to do that, because I understand the power of giving birth. I understand being the oldest. I understand the creativity. I understand pushing forward. Now I'm down here at the neighborhood association trying to get the building. We're the only neighborhood association out of 400 associations that own our own building. And we are in the highest zip code for infant fatality, for lead in the water, all kind of stuff. Gas stations, no nutritional balance. Everything is by design. Until we have the damn conversation, then everybody gets to deal with their special privilege.
mm-hmm. All right, well,
Afro-Americans don't get special privilege.
No, I mean, when you came out here last fall, I had so much fun. You and Sis Gigi and just hanging out and I'm certainly aware of what comes with just me being white. All kinds of doors automatically open that I might not even be aware of that are opening because
Yes.
I'm white. So let me ask you this, because a lot of my friends and the folks on Facebook are not people of color. What would you like to see people like me start to do tomorrow to help move this down the field, down the football field?
Well, what I would like to see for people like you and for people that are related to our politicians and to our medical field and to our law enforcement and to the judges and attorneys, that, they need to use the Constitution for what the Constitution is said is for. So I know they don't want to rewrite the Constitution, but if they said the justice is for all, why is it not for people that look like myself? How can I'm surrounded by drug houses and gangbangers, and out of all the people that disrespect me was the agency that I worked for.
The police department.
The police department. So what I would say is to have these conversations with the people, the decision makers, bringing people that, not your basketball players and your movie stars. That's a whole nother world. that's a whole nother world. I'm not saying all of them are included, but a lot of them don't really give back to where it's going to be really useful. They give back to their friends, or they it's just it's crazy. It's mad.
So what? I should have conversations with people
Yes.
in power.
And people with power. And how do they feel? Just imagine the lady just a couple weeks ago wanted to scream and holler because the man told her to put the dog on a leash, and she called the police and said that this black man was doing this. Look how many people that are in jail that's been falsely accused of rape that they didn't do, that was hung for shit that they didn't do. They got No Child Left Behind, and then they have all of our children on Ritalin, and we learn different. I mean, the educational system needs to be reformed. It's nothing wrong with taking children from the inner city and sending them to a suburb college, but when they go there, they're going to get mistreated. So your educational system is messed up. So it's all because of race. It's all because of isms. Isms, racism, humanism. What I don't care what it is. Feminism is the ism. We are people, and people. Before in the 1600s, there were poor French, Dutch, and Africans working side by side, eating together. Then our regime decided to change the law. That's what we're dealing with right now. Every time you turn around, my dad is 85 years old. He went through the Depression, and here it is. He's going through this shit.
All right, Diane, listen. You and I, we could talk all night, and I would like that. I want this to be the first chapter in a conversation. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but Diane was actually, we were supposed to get married this summer. Diane was going to come to the wedding and was going to treat our guests. Diane is an amazing dancer on top, and uses, by the way, dance and drums to reach out to her community and empower the young people in her community. Amazing woman right here. You don't have your drum around, do you?
Yes, I do.
Can you play me a little something before we wrap it up? That's what I'm talking about. Take off the ring. Here we go.
Yeah. And the real truth of the matter of it is called drums, not guns. Guns kill, drums heal.
Guns kill, drums heal. Diane does this schools, community centers. She's great and awesome. I'm really glad. Get that drum out, Diane. Let's get some high energy as we round it out. This woman, I hope you get a chance to meet her in person, and the pleasure that have the same pleasure I've had. Unless she's left. Diane, where'd you go? Diane! She's probably getting the drum in the next room over. Anyway, I'm going to try to continue these conversations as often as I can with different people in my life that I admire and respect and want to listen to, and I hope you appreciate it. Diane?
Here I am. I had to go.
All right, you scared me for a second. I thought, what the hell? Did she decide she's going to go do something better?
But I can just tell you, if we're going to make a difference, Chris, I connect with people. I connect with people's souls.
That's right. You do.
And, that's why I was so effective on the street, because I dealt with the soul. I didn't deal with, man, I tell you. Everyone, Miss Diane, you need to get back on come back on the police department. I said, oh.
That isn't going to happen. All right. I love you, Diane. You know I love you.
Yes.
I will see you in person soon. I'll talk to you afterward. We've rescheduled our wedding reception for next year because of COVID, and you better bring those drums to our wedding reception, Miss Diane.
I know I'm gonna have to drive down there, but I'm here to tell you. Thank you, Chris. And I'm gonna tell you, if it's anything that you can do, it's time to have conversation. A lot of people know history, and the history has been hidden from us. But now, because we're in the information age, it's right here in front of our face. And so no one is really slow, mentally ill with not knowing some of the things that's coming our way.
Amen.
So
hey, Diane.
I just know that if we work on what we need to do to have better communication and accountability, then we can change a lot of things.
Amen. By the way, I like, you said, stop tripping.
Stop tripping. Stop tripping.
I love you. I'll see you soon, Diane. I really do love you. Stay safe out there in Fort Wayne. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I love you, Diane.
Love you back.
I'll see